Humanity did not rush when the invasion alarms began, and that frightened the soldiers who understood war. The Ravani conclave crossed 3 border systems with engines burning bright enough to bruise the dark. Their priests announced that Earth's delay proved spiritual confusion. Their admirals claimed humans were too divided to respond, and their news towers counted the hours of silence like trophies. But in every human command room, clocks were running for a different reason. The silence was not hesitation, it was timing. The Ravani were masters of momentum. Every conquest began with speed, shock, and sacred noise. They struck before governments met, before families fled, before defenders mapped the damage, and they had broken worlds by forcing them to answer too early. So when Earth's outer patrols withdrew from Iris Gate and Danton Reef, the conclave celebrated, believing the old pattern had begun again. Pressure, panic, surrender, tribute. They did not know humans had chosen the first losses weeks before the war. Admiral Norvale watched the Ravani advance from a station buried inside the rings of Saturn. Her officers asked for permission to engage after the first civilian station was threatened. Then again, after the second mining convoy was seized. Then again, when enemy war hymns reached Mars. Each time she said no, not because she lacked anger, but because the enemy formation was still too wide, too confident, and too full of captives chained into forward decks. The perfect moment is not when rage peaks. It is when fewer innocents stand between justice and the blade. Earth used the waiting days like a craftsman uses breath. Evacuation ships moved under refugee markings. Drones mapped Ravani fuel rhythms. Diplomats smuggled surrender offers into enemy conscript channels. Farmers in the outer colonies buried grain stores. And engineers on old moons adjusted mass, drivers by fractions of degrees. The Ravani saw retreat and heard weakness. But what humanity was really doing was clearing the battlefield of everything it loved. By the 5th day, even allies begged Earth to strike. Norvale listened to them all, the grieving governors, the wounded captains, the angry senators, and the children asking why Earth's navy had not come yet. She answered with one promise: when we move. The war changes shape forever. That line leaked across the galaxy and was mocked by Ravani priests as human poetry. But in the hidden channels of occupied ships, chained mechanics whispered it to one another like a password. Then the Ravani Grand Fleet reached the mouth of Cinder Corridor. Cinder Corridor looked like a safe route toward Earth. Wide, direct, and rich, with abandoned fuel platforms. The Conclave's own scouts had confirmed no major human fleet inside it, which was true because the fleet was not inside the corridor. The fleet was around it, behind dead sensor moons, under comet veils, folded into repair docks disguised as ruins, and waiting for the Ravani to compress themselves into the exact formation their doctrine demanded. At last the enemy became one target made of many ships. Admiral Vale gave the order without raising her voice. Every human vessel woke at once, not charging forward, but closing doors. Gravity anchors locked behind the Ravani. Fuel platforms burst into shield walls, mine curtains activated ahead, and communications narrowed into one open channel where every Ravani crew heard the same calm words: "You are surrounded. Civilians have been evacuated. Prisoners are being released. Commanders may surrender. Weapons fired now will be answered immediately." The Ravani fired. Humanity struck with impossible restraint and impossible force. Rail lances cut weapon spines, drones blinded targeting altars, boarding teams cracked prisoner decks, and shield barges shoved damaged ships away from collision paths. The Ravani expected wild revenge after days of silence, but received a mathematics lesson written in disabled engines within 30 minutes. Half their forward guns were gone within an hour. Every hostage compartment was under human control. Within 2, their sacred momentum had stopped dead. The perfect moment had arrived, and humanity had brought the whole storm with it. The Conclave tried to turn the rear fleet into a rescue wedge. But rear meant nothing inside a trap built around doctrine. Hidden human cutters had already seized fuel tenders. Allied smugglers had poisoned navigation shortcuts with false stars. And Ravani conscripts who had heard Earth's messages opened maintenance locks from within. the battlefield became a tightening net, where only one thing moved freely. The chance to surrender, Priest Admiral Koresh ordered self-destruction rather than shame. That order was the final mistake, because Earth had waited long enough to know every command route and every ritual trigger. Human code shut the sacrifice systems down before they could ignite. And millions of Ravani civilians watching the war feed saw their holy commanders attempt to murder their own crews. Then saw human Marines risk their lives boarding reactors to prevent it. Belief cracked, not with argument, but with witness. By the time Earth's main fleet crossed into Ravani space, the war was already morally over. Still, the Conclave refused peace. Retreating to the temple fortress of Aura, a moon wrapped in cannons and ancient banners. There they planned to wait until Earth grew impatient. Rushed and failed, Admiral Vale did not rush. She waited through 3 rotations, mapped every civilian district beneath the fortress, opened secret corridors for defectors, and let the Conclave's food hordes become public knowledge to starving provinces below. Timing defeated them again. When the strike came, it lasted 11 minutes. Not against temples, not against homes, but against the command crown, the hidden prison vaults, the sacrifice engines, and the broadcast towers used to turn fear into obedience. The fortress guns died in sequence, the prison doors opened, and the priests found themselves surrounded not by enemies screaming for vengeance, but by their own former believers walking out alive, led by human medics carrying light. The galaxy learned that humanity's patience was not softness, it was aim after the surrender. Critics asked why Earth had allowed those first days of terror. Norvale answered with the names of prisoners saved, cities emptied, reactors disarmed, and crews who survived because humanity had not spent anger at the cheapest moment. War rewards speed, but civilization must not. The perfect moment was not the earliest strike, nor the loudest. It was the one that ended the enemy's power while saving the people trapped beneath it. Humanity did not rush into battle, and because of that, when it finally struck, the Ravani never rose again.